Bartholomew Buttercup was not a bad man. Not at all. He just had needs. Lots of needs. From the moment he woke up to the time he went to bed, his mind was a whirlwind of desires and wishes. And what better way to address these needs than through prayer? He believed that if he asked earnestly enough, the universe would surely listen.
Every night Bartholomew knelt by his bed, eyes squeezed shut, hands clasped tightly together, and launched into a monologue that would make a filibustering politician proud. His words flowed like a river, unending and relentless.
Bartholomew's prayers were less about spiritual enlightenment and more about a divine shopping list. Each item meticulously thought out and fervently wished for. He prayed for a new toaster. The old one kept burning his bagels, a winning lottery ticket, and maybe even a new car. He'd settle for a buy one, get one free coupon at this point, anything to make life a little easier. And even a date with the charming barista at his local coffee shop, whose smile made his heart skip a beat, who, unbeknownst to him, was happily married. A small detail he had somehow overlooked.
His prayers were a testament to his boundless optimism, a belief that anything was possible if he just asked nicely enough, and his somewhat skewed understanding of divine intervention. He often wondered why some prayers were answered and others were not. But hey, who are we to judge? After all, everyone has their own way of seeking help from the universe.
One Tuesday evening, Bartholomew launched into his usual prayer marathon. It was a ritual he had perfected over the years, a nightly routine that had become as familiar as brushing his teeth or setting his alarm clock.
And please, dear Lord, if you could see it in your heart to make my socks never go missing in the laundry, that would be swell. It's like they vanish into thin air and I'm left with mismatched pairs every single time.
He paused, catching his breath. The list was long and he was just getting started.
Also, maybe a new pair of noise-canceling headphones? The ones I have now are falling apart, and the construction next door is driving me bonkers. The constant hammering and drilling is unbearable. I can't even hear myself think sometimes.
Bartholomew continued, his voice reaching a fever pitch. His prayers were a mix of genuine needs and whimsical desires, each one as important to him as the last, as he rattled off a list of increasingly trivial requests. He prayed for a parking spot right in front of the supermarket, a solution to his persistent case of the hiccups, which had been plaguing him for days, and a way to finally beat his nephew at Scrabble. The kid was a walking dictionary. It was honestly unfair. No matter how hard he tried, he could never seem to win. Bartholomew's prayers were a testament to his belief that no request was too small or too silly to bring before the divine. He believed that if he just kept asking, maybe one day, all his wishes, no matter how trivial, would be granted. Suddenly a voice, calm and measured, interrupted his prayer. God's voice. "Bartholomew!" it boomed, echoing through the room. Bartholomew froze, his eyes still squeezed shut. Had the barista left her husband? Was this the universe telling him to buy a lottery ticket? He cautiously opened one eye, then the other. The room was empty. Had he imagined it?
He was about to resume his prayer when the voice boomed again, this time closer, as if emanating from his bedside lamp. God's voice. "Bartholomew, it's time to listen."
Bartholomew looked around, puzzled.
"Is that you, Lord? Did you find my missing socks?"
The room remained silent, leaving Bartholomew to ponder the unexpected interruption.
Did you just talk?
Bartholomew stared at the lamp, his mouth agape. The lamp, being a lamp, remained silent. Bartholomew, convinced he was either going crazy or experiencing a divine visitation, he was leaning towards the former, cautiously poked the lamp.
"Who is this? Is this about the extended warranty on the toaster? Because I already called customer service, and they put me on hold for an hour."
He waited for a response, but the voice remained silent. Had the Lord hung up on him? This was even worse than the time he got stuck on hold with the cable company. Just as he was about to resume his prayer, convinced it had all been a bizarre hallucination brought on by his neighbor's questionable taste in polka music, he heard it again. The voice spoke again. This time it was softer, gentler, almost like a whisper carried on the wind. God's voice. "Bartholomew, sometimes you just need to be still and listen. The world is full of noise, but true wisdom comes in the quiet moments." The voice seemed to wash over him, calming his anxieties and silencing his racing thoughts. It was as if a warm blanket had been draped over his soul. For the first time in what felt like forever, Bartholomew was quiet. He wasn't thinking about his problems or his to-do list. He sat there, on his knees, and simply listened. He listened to the world around him, to the subtle symphony of life. He listened to the gentle hum of the refrigerator, a sound he had never really noticed before. The distant chirping of crickets, a reminder of the natural world outside his window, and the sound of his own breath, steady and rhythmic, grounding him in the present moment. And in that silence, he realized something profound. It was a moment of clarity that he had been missing. He had been so busy asking, so consumed by his own voice, so caught up in his own wants and desires, that he had forgotten the importance of silence. He had forgotten to simply be present, to live in the moment and appreciate the here and now, to appreciate the good in his life, the small joys that often go unnoticed, and to listen for guidance, not just from above, but from within himself. From that day forward, Bartholomew's prayers changed. They were no longer marathon wish lists, but quiet moments of reflection, gratitude, and listening.
He still prayed for his socks to find their mates, of course. A man can dream. But his prayers were now filled with a newfound sense of peace and understanding.
And who knows, maybe, just maybe, the next time he prayed, the voice wouldn't tell him to listen, but would instead whisper, about those socks.